This is the notification that Donald Trump has been dreading more than any indictment, more than any protest, and more than any trade war. At 7 a.m. this morning, Friday, January 30th, 2026, the political impossible happened. Florida, the fortress of the MAGA movement, the state that has been the beating heart of the Republican Party for a decade, and the president's own adopted home, is gone. But it's not just the top-line number that has Mar-a-Lago in a panic this morning, it's the who. The coalition that built the Trump dynasty is fracturing in real time. The condo commandos, the seniors who vote religiously, have swung 20 points against him. The Venezuelan community in Doral, once his staunchest allies, are in open revolt. And suburban women in Seminole County, they have completely abandoned the GOP. Why? Because while the president was fighting with Greenland and shooting nurses in Minneapolis, Florida was quietly imploding. The Japan bond crash we covered earlier this week didn't just hurt Wall Street, it vaporized the Florida insurance market. Overnight, 3 major Florida property insurers declared insolvency due to the liquidity crisis in Tokyo. Notices of coverage cancellation are hitting mailboxes in Miami and Tampa today. In this emergency broadcast, we are going to break down the shock poll that signals the end of the Trump coalition. We are going to explain the insurance apocalypse that is driving seniors into the streets. And we are going to look at the silence of Ron DeSantis, who is watching the president burn from the governor's mansion and doing absolutely nothing to stop it. The firewall has been breached. If Trump loses Florida, he loses everything. To understand the magnitude of this disaster, we have to look at the crosstabs of this Marist poll. This isn't just a mood swing, it's a demographic realignment. The sample size was massive, 2,500 likely voters across the Sunshine State. The margin of error is a razor-thin 2.1%. The headline numbers: Trump, 44% generic Democrat, 48% undecided, 8%. For context, in November 2024, Trump carried Florida with 56.1% of the vote. To drop to 44% in his own backyard is catastrophic. It means he has lost the independent voters entirely and is bleeding soft Republicans. The gray revolt, ages 65 plus. This is the statistic that will terrify the RNC. Among voters over 65, the most powerful and consistent voting bloc in Florida, Trump's approval has tanked to 38%. Historically, Republicans win this demographic by double digits. Why the collapse? Because they are on fixed incomes. The Greenland inflation made their groceries unaffordable. The Japan crash hit their pensions. And now, the insurance spike is threatening to take their homes. They aren't voting on culture wars anymore. They are voting on survival. The suburban shift. In the crucial I-4 corridor, Orlando to Tampa, independent women have moved 15 points to the left in 1 week. We can trace this directly to the Sarah Jenkins shooting. The video of a nurse, a mother, being killed by federal agents resonated with suburban moms in Seminole and Hillsborough counties in a way that tax cuts never could. They see the violence and they are repulsed. They are worried about their own children in a country that feels like it's coming apart. The Latino fracture. This is the most surprising finding. Trump won nearly 60% of the Hispanic vote in Florida in 2024, largely driven by Cuban and Venezuelan voters in Miami-Dade. Today, he is polling at 45% with that same group. The Venezuela victory narrative, following the capture of Nicolas Maduro earlier this month, has backfired. Instead of celebrating, the Venezuelan community in Miami is furious about the economic fallout. The sanctions and the trade chaos have hurt their import-export businesses. They realized that regime change didn't lower the price of gas in Doral. The president woke up to these numbers, and sources say the mood in the residence is funereal. He screams at aides about fake polls, but he knows Marist is the gold standard. He knows that if he is down 4 in Florida, he is down 10 in Pennsylvania and Michigan. The electoral map just vanished. We need to connect the dots between the global economy and the Florida voter. Why did the poll drop now? It's the insurance. For years, Florida's property insurance market has been on life support. The state-backed insurer, Citizens Property Insurance, was holding it together. But Citizens relies on reinsurance, insurance for insurance companies. They buy massive policies to cover themselves in case of a hurricane. And where do they buy that reinsurance? Tokyo. The Japanese bond market crash on Monday wiped out the capital reserves of the global reinsurance giants. On Wednesday, those Japanese firms issued margin calls to Florida insurers. Post more collateral or we cancel your coverage. The Florida insurers didn't have the cash. Yesterday afternoon, 3 mid-sized carriers, Gulfstream Wind, Sunshine State Mutual, and Palm Beach Indemnity, filed for immediate receivership. They are broke. This means 400,000 Florida homeowners woke up this morning to find out they are uninsured. In the middle of hurricane season? No. But in the middle of a mortgage crisis. If you lose your insurance, your bank force places a policy on you. These force-placed policies cost 3x or 4x the normal rate. We are talking about seniors in the villages seeing their monthly payments jump from $500 to $2,000 overnight. They can't pay. They are facing foreclosure. And they are blaming the man in the White House who claimed the economy was great. This is the black swan event of the 2026 cycle. A financial crash in Asia is evicting grandmothers in Boca Raton, and Trump has no tool to fix it. He can't tweet the insurance rates down. He can't deploy the military to lower premiums. It's not just the single-family homes, it's the condos. And this is a crisis years in the making that just exploded. Remember the Surfside collapse in 2021? After that tragedy, Florida passed strict new safety laws, SB 154. By 2026, every condo building over 30 years old needed to be inspected and fully funded for repairs. No more waiving reserves. That deadline hit on January 1st, 2026. Thousands of condo associations were already struggling to raise the millions needed for concrete restoration. Then the insurance crisis hit this week. Condo fees in Miami and Fort Lauderdale have doubled in 30 days. Retirees living on Social Security are being hit with special assessments of $50,000 to $100,000 per unit to meet the new state mandates. They are panic selling, but nobody is buying. The inventory of condos for sale in South Florida has exploded by 400% in January alone. Prices are crashing. A condo in Sunny Isles that was worth $600,000 in 2024 is sitting on the market for $350,000 today. This is a wealth destruction event for the Trump base. These are his voters. They are the people who go to the boat parades. They are the people who watch Fox News. Now they are watching their net worth evaporate. And they are looking at the president's trade wars, his ballroom construction, his distractions, and they are furious. The poll reflects this. The condo commandos, the politically active seniors who run the HOAs, have turned. They are organizing. But they aren't organizing golf cart rallies for Trump. They are organizing protests demanding a federal bailout. And Trump, paralyzed by the debt limit and the boycott, can't give it to them. Where is Ron DeSantis? The governor of Florida is term limited. He is eyeing the 2028 presidential run. Usually when the president is in trouble in his home state, the governor is the first line of defense. He should be on TV saying, the poll is fake, Florida loves Trump, we are strong. Instead, silence. DeSantis has not issued a statement. He has not posted on social media. He has not appeared on Fox. Why? Because he reads the same polls. He sees that his wife, Casey DeSantis, who is polling as the frontrunner for governor in 2026, is actually more popular than Trump right now. The DeSantis machine is calculating that Trump is an anchor. They don't want to be dragged down with him. In fact, sources in Tallahassee say DeSantis is privately meeting with the insurance execs, trying to craft a state solution that bypasses Washington entirely. He wants to be the hero who saves the seniors from the Trump economy. He is positioning himself as the competent alternative. This is the ultimate betrayal. The Florida GOP is effectively splitting into two parties, the Trump cult and the DeSantis machine. And right now, the machine is winning. We are seeing local GOP officials, mayors, sheriffs, scrubbing Trump's name from their bios. They know a blue wave is coming to Florida, and they are trying to survive the flood. Let's touch on the Venezuela angle because it's a fascinating case study in unintended consequences. Earlier this month, U.S. Special Forces captured Nicolas Maduro in a daring raid. Trump declared it a massive victory. I liberated Venezuela, he shouted at a rally in Hialeah. He thought this would lock down the Latino vote in Florida forever. But reality is messier than a spy movie. The removal of Maduro caused a power vacuum in Caracas. Civil war erupted between rival factions. Oil production stopped completely. And the refugees? They started moving north again. The Venezuelan community in Florida expected a swift transition to democracy. Instead, they got chaos and violence in their homeland. They also got the Trump tariffs. Many Venezuelan Americans run import-export businesses connecting Miami to Latin America. Trump's blanket tariffs on foreign goods intended for China, Europe, hit Latin America too. Their costs went up 20%. So you have a community that got a symbolic victory, Maduro gone, but a practical disaster, business ruined, homeland in chaos. They are pragmatic voters. They looked at their bank accounts and they switched sides. The poll shows Trump losing the Cuban-Venezuelan firewall that saved him in 2020 and 2024. Without that massive margin in Miami-Dade County, a Republican cannot win Florida statewide. The math simply doesn't work. The global boycott we discussed yesterday, the great American boycott, is killing Florida's other engine, tourism. Orlando is empty. Brazilian tour groups canceled. British families canceled. The theme parks are cutting hours for the first time in decades. Service workers, hotel maids, waiters, Uber drivers are losing shifts. These are the working class voters Trump claims to represent, but they aren't working. They are sitting at home watching the news about the ballroom and the nurse and realizing that the president's behavior is costing them their livelihood. The hospitality union in Orlando, Unite Here, just endorsed the Make America Go Away protests. This is significant. When the mouse ears turn against you, you have lost the narrative. Disney, Universal, and the cruise lines are all suffering. And in Florida, you don't mess with the mouse. Finally, we have to talk about the psychology of this. Florida isn't just a state to Trump. It's his sanctuary. It's where Mar-a-Lago is. It's where he plays golf. It's where he feels safe. To be rejected by New York was expected. He hates them. They hate him. But to be rejected by Florida, that is a rejection by his own tribe. If he can't go to Bedminster, too cold, and he can't go to Trump Tower, seized by the sheriff, and he can't stay in the White House, surrounded by protests, and now he can't go to Florida because he's unpopular, where does he go? He is a man without a country. This poll strips him of his home field advantage. It makes him vulnerable in a way he has never been before. He isn't the Florida man anymore. He is just a squatter in a state that wants him gone. The shock poll in Florida is the final bell. It confirms that the Trump realignment was temporary. It confirms that competence matters more than culture wars. And it confirms that you cannot fight the entire world without eventually hurting your own people. As the sun sets on Mar-a-Lago tonight, the mood is grim. The donors aren't calling. The governor isn't calling. And the voters are hanging up. Florida has woken up, and the nightmare is real. Subscribe. We will be tracking the insurance crisis all weekend. If the state legislature calls a special session, we will be live. The fortress has fallen. Let's get technical on why this insurance crisis is unfixable. Citizens Property Insurance, the state-backed insurer of last resort, has a catastrophe bond program. They sold bonds to global investors to cover hurricane risks. But who buys those bonds? Global hedge funds and Japanese banks. The same funds that are boycotting U.S. assets. The same funds that lost billions in the Japan bond crash. In the upcoming renewal cycle, March 2026, the bond market for Florida wind risk is effectively closed. Citizens cannot buy reinsurance. This means the state of Florida, meaning the taxpayers, is on the hook for the entire liability of a hurricane. If a Category 3 storm hits Miami in 2026, Florida goes bankrupt. Ron DeSantis knows this. That is why he is distancing himself. He knows the math doesn't work anymore, and he doesn't want to be the governor holding the bag when the system collapses. During the pandemic, 2020, 2022, thousands of New Yorkers moved to Florida for freedom and low taxes. They drove up the real estate prices. Now, they are leaving. They are reverse migrating. Why? Because the freedom turned into chaos. They are realizing that low taxes don't matter if your home insurance costs $20,000 a year and the schools are failing due to budget cuts. This reverse migration is flooding the market with homes, crashing prices further. The Florida boom was a bubble, and Donald Trump was the pin. In 2024, Florida Republicans aggressively gerrymandered the map to lock in gains. But gerrymandering only works if your margins are stable. If you have a 15-point swing against you, those safe Republican seats suddenly become competitive. The poll suggests that 4 or 5 congressional seats in Florida could flip blue in 2026. That alone would cost the GOP the House majority. The aggressive map has become a trap. By spreading their voters too thin to maximize seats, they made themselves vulnerable to a wave election. The Florida shock poll is the canary in the coal mine. If Trump has lost Florida, he has lost America, and he knows it. Stay tuned. The weekend is just beginning, and the fallout is just starting.